We would like to share our literature review about plastic and plastic waste pollution that we did during Christmas holidays 2023. We would like to convey our disclaimer. We source the data from scientific articles and publications. This content is dedicated for public education, not as an endorsement, advertisement, or business. This review will be split into several parts. How is microplastic formed and come to our body? It comes from various products, especially packaging, tire, cosmetics. When plastic packaging is exposed to UV light, the UV light disintegrates plastic into small particles, yet it is still plastic. If these small particles are too small, they could not be seen by naked eyes. They are called as microplastic if the unit size is in micron, or 1/1000th of a millimeter, and nanoplastic if the unit size is in nano, or 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter. We may not realize, every day when we use vehicles, we generate microplastic in tiny amount. If we use private car to go to the office every day, we generate microplastic 2 times as much as if we use a motorbike. What if we compare a motorbike with a bicycle? Considering the energy source and the wheel surface temperature due to friction and movement, it can be said that motorbikes generate more microplastic than bicycles. For sure, if you want to go in walking distance, walking is the best option than riding or driving. And private jet is the worst vehicle, so please avoid using a private jet even though you can buy your jet, because, we are sure, you are not rich enough to pay all the climate crisis it caused by. The cosmetic industry is also the main contributor to microplastic pollution. They often overuse plastic for their product packaging, as primary and secondary packaging and sleeve. They also use microbeads as one of their cosmetic ingredients. In this part, we use some references, such as the review paper of Jenna Jambek, Breaking the Plastic Wave Report, and Indonesia Central Bureau of Statistics. Talking about plastic waste, we should not miss the article written by Jambek. According to the paper of Jambek, global plastic production in 2010 was 270 million metric tons. At the same year, the total plastic waste reached 275 million metric tons. This map showed that the darker the color, the more plastic waste present in the country. Indonesia ranked number 2 after China as the most plastic waste polluters in the world. According to this picture from Breaking the Plastic Waste Report, the main contributors to plastic leakage into the ocean are upper middle income and lower middle income countries. The people in high income countries have been more educated and aware about plastic waste and its adverse effects, thus they are willing to shift to sustainable packaging. The people in upper middle income and lower middle income countries have the budget to buy goods, but they are perceived as unaware consumers about plastic waste. They may be aware, but the available packaging in their countries is non-degradable packaging. Also, plastic leakage from urban communities is more than that from rural communities. We cannot eliminate all plastic waste immediately, But we target to reduce it gradually and significantly by years, with smart strategy and contribution from all stakeholders. This chart showed the realistic target to reduce plastic leakage from urban communities from 6.3 in 2016 to 2.7 million metric tons per year. From the right chart, we can see that 54% of plastic leakage in the oceans is flexible monomaterial plastic. Monomaterial and multi-layer flexible packaging represents 59% of plastic production, but contribute 80% of plastic leakage to the ocean. According to this figure, 64% or 215 million metric tons of global plastic production contributes to plastic waste pollution. From that amount, 11 million metric tons leaked into the ocean. If the business grows as usual, the mismanaged plastic waste will grow from 91 million metric tons in 2016 to 239 million metric tons in 2040. In system change, there are 8 strategies to achieve the target of reducing plastic leakage in the oceans. We could also see the responsible stakeholders working together to achieve the target. Using the system change, we could reduce business and government costs. While the system change saves the cost, it still creates social and environmental impacts. We create more jobs, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and reduce virgin plastic production and plastic leakage in the oceans. According to the latest data sources, 80% of marine waste comes from land, and around 50% comes from 5 countries in Asia, and Indonesia is ranked 5th. As economic growth in these countries increases, plastic consumption also increases, which has outstripped the development of effective solid waste management systems. Currently, Indonesia consumes more than 6 million tons of plastic every year, and it is estimated that around 1 million tons of plastic leaks into the water every year. As a result, plastic and poor waste management contribute to reduced tourism and fisheries productivity, as well as harming public health. The Indonesian Central Bureau of Statistics, 2021 published that Central Java, East Java, and Jakarta were top 3 plastic polluting provinces. Provinces with higher population generate more plastic waste than those with less population. However, the available budget to manage the waste is not linear with the amount of the waste. According to Indonesian Central Statistics Agency, 48% of trash is plastic, 3 times than food waste. It means that most people use plastic once. Then, only 9% is sorted and recycled. This picture showed that only 7.5% of plastic waste is composted and recycled. 69% of plastic waste goes to landfill, but the landfill is not enough to receive all that plastic waste. The rest of plastic waste is buried, burned, or left unmanaged. If plastic is buried, it decreases soil porosity, inhibits soil microbial growth, and in the future, it generates microplastic. If plastic is burned, it releases volatile carcinogenic compounds and is inhaled by all living things in the space. And, the worst case, if plastic waste is unmanaged, it may create problems on land or in the sea. These are some facilities that need to be properly provided and managed. The The public awareness about plastic waste pollution has increased. Some NGOs and startups are creating cleaning events on certain occasions. They create ripple effects on other people. However, it is still insignificant compared to the amount of plastic waste. Above all waste management facilities, this is the day-to-day application of the system change scenario that I propose for my home country, Indonesia. And I think this is applicable for other countries. We could participate in reducing the amount of plastic leakage in the oceans. Either we are at home or on the go. And we could reduce single-use plastic in our meals and drinks. In this part, our main reference is Breaking the Plastic Wave, a comprehensive assessment of pathways towards stopping ocean plastic pollution, prepared by the Pew Charitable Trust and Systemic and partners. In 2010, 8 million metric tons of plastic waste leaked out to the ocean, but in 2016, it increased to 11 million metric tons, and this number will be 29 million metric tons in 2040. If all current government and industry commitments were implemented, the leakage could be reduced by 7%. And 11% of all plastic leakage is microplastic. Different materials have different greenhouse impacts. And different treatment options also have different greenhouse impacts. If we could not avoid using plastic, we should strive to reuse it. Even though the plastic is claimed as recyclable, even if the plastic is 100% recyclable, it still emits greenhouse gas. However, recycling is much better than landfill or plastic to fuel conversion. Then, incineration and open burning are the worst after-use management. Not only due to the greenhouse gas emissions but also due to the severe health problems. We will discuss in the next parts for the greenhouse gas impacts of paper and compostable material. Landfills, incinerators, and plastic-to-fuel chemical conversion should be used only as a last resort, after the reduce, redesign or substitute and recycle. Landfills are not managed effectively with daily and intermediate cover. Plastic waste may be just as likely to leak into the environment as in an open dump site. Plastics are always co-disposed with biological materials that generate methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. Even with capture systems, approximately 10 to 65% of methane is released. Incinerators release pollutants such as dioxins, furans, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, halogenated flame retardants, particulate matter sulfur oxide, and nitrogen oxide. Exposure to these pollutants has been linked to an increase in the risk of asthma, heart disease, reproductive health complications, respiratory infections, cancer, and neurological damage, as well as damage to the central nervous system. Chemical conversion of plastic to fuel uses high levels of energy and releases several harmful pollutants that increase risks for cancer, respiratory infections, kidney damage, and neurotoxicity. This is how the system change scenario would achieve 80% reduction, from 56% to 10%, in annual plastic leakage to the ocean relative to business as usual. Reduce the avoidable single-use plastic. Substitute conventional plastic with biodegradable plastic. Recycle recyclable plastic. and dispose of plastic properly should be implemented altogether. No one solution can stand alone to solve this severe pollution. These 5 products represent 85% of single-use plastic leaking into the ocean. The authors have seen the potential substitution for monomaterial films, carrier bags, sachet and multi-layer films, but they have not yet seen the substitute for bottles and household goods, including toothbrush. I think BioPak is on the right track. BioPak manufactures seaweed-based biopackaging. As we focus on those 3 products, monomaterial films, carrier bags, sachet and multi-layer films. There are at least 2 startups who claim they can produce eco-friendly packaging for liquids, but maybe still in insignificant amount. There are also some producers of bamboo toothbrush, but it is still not 100% plastic-free because the biodegradable material to replace nylon brush is still not available. Waste pickers contribute to reducing ocean plastic pollution, but their work is often unrecognized and underpaid. They are the heroes for our planet. However, 73% of plastic waste is collected to disposal. There are some limiting factors for plastic waste recycling. 1. Many product designs, such as composite, multi-layer, and small format, are technically problematic for mechanical recycling. 2. Lack of local infrastructure and technology to collect, sort, and recycle plastic waste. 3. Plastic often becomes contaminated with other waste, making recycling unviable because it is too costly to clean and separate the plastic fractions. This is the proposed milestone that should be achieved by 2025. BioPak participates in reducing and substituting non-degradable plastic with seaweed-based biopackaging that is truly eco-friendly, sustainable, and convenient. However, I have to be realistic. Indonesia, my home country, could not make a significant contribution because until now, 2024, the Indonesian government does not have real action except for announcing a bold commitment to reduce ocean plastic levels by 70% by 2025. This is a realistic plan. BioPak does not want to be over-optimistic to replace all plastic. It takes time. If I can suggest, we should find not only eco-friendly, but also sustainable material to replace plastic. Currently, BioPak produces seaweed-based monomaterial sheets, sachet and multi-layer sheets, and carrier bags. The total will be 53 million metric tons. Later, BioPak can produce rigid monomaterial packaging, pots, tubs and trays, and food service disposable, which total 14.5 million metric tons. It is not about fighting plastic, it is about fighting plastic pollution. It is not the lack of technical solutions that prevents us from addressing plastic pollution, but rather inadequate regulatory frameworks, business models, and funding mechanisms. The incentives are not always in place to scale up the solutions. Collaborative action across the value chain, between public and private actors, between levels of government, and across borders is critical because many organizations are willing to act, but only if other actors act too.